I see in the chat, Chris is worried they were going to make the white guy the bad guy. They actually call that out. Like Arthur says, am I just going to, they're very aware. They're very aware of people are going to think like, oh, here you go. It's going to be like that Lifetime movie where you have the couple that reunites and you have the evil white boyfriend or evil, just boyfriend in general. And they don't do that. They call it out. They say it. And my fear was, oh, now that you said it, now you're just going to indulge in it. And they do they don't do that. I don't want to say exactly what happens, but I like that. That felt like, this felt like a very mature take on a complicated romantic relationship. Well, now, my friends, we can finally go ahead and move on to the next part of my show, my review, my long-coming review for Past Lives. I saw this earlier this week, been trying to fit this review in, was going to do it the other day, but I just couldn't, with my schedule just being so packed and so busy. Plus, I really want to talk about, Poor Things as well, chat. One of the strangest, one of the best movies of the year, in my opinion. Very good movie. Maybe not my favorite movie, but still very good. But still, in any case, I was like, God, I got to try to fit Past Lives in here. And finally today, I can give you my review for the movie. But, this is definitely a smaller film this year that has been getting a lot of award attention, high critical praise for those that have seen it. And I was like, well, since this is kind of a smaller film, not a lot of people have been able to check it out. I want to check it out for myself. I want to see what all these critics have been saying, see how good this movie actually is. Is it actually good, Shell? I'm going to let you know in just a bit. But to give you a brief background synopsis, film focuses on Nora and Hae Sung, two deeply connected childhood friends who are forced apart after Nora's family emigrates from South Korea to Toronto, and then later the United States. Over 20 years later, they are reunited for one fateful week. Now, the romantic genre is an interesting film genre to me. I think what often comes to mind is either classic adaptations, film adaptations of, Jane Austen books like, Pride and Prejudice, or the hundreds of Lifetime movies about rich, successful people finding love in a quaint little American town. The genre could certainly be more than just those two things. And despite, I think, the many assumptions about it I think we all had over the years, certainly when we were younger, it's like romantic movies, get out of here. They're boring. It's the same thing. A lot of these romantic films, they can still be grounded in current reality and still be very heartwarming. One of my favorite films, honestly, of the last decade is Silver Linings Playbook. And that is a romantic movie and follows, two characters, coming together, though they suffer from a variety of mental health issues and trauma that has affected many of their past lives, one might say, their past relationships. And it's the type of movie that is kind of like a quality standard bearer, I think, for the genre, certainly recently in terms of modern romantic films. And, and in the case of Past Lives, it too is one of those quality theatrically released romantic movies. Unlike something like, Silver Linings Playbook, which has an all-star cast of recognizable faces like, Bradley Cooper, Jennifer Lawrence, Robert De Niro. Past Lives features relatively, unknown actors. Certainly, and most probably when it comes to Western audiences. But I think that actually really helps the film in the long run. The main cast feels so incredibly grounded and realistic in this movie. Their story is something that many, if not most of us, have experienced with a romantic partner. We focus on two characters, specifically Nora Moon and Hae Sung, who are very young childhood friends, who are almost always together in grade, in middle school in South Korea. It's the kind of thing where, you're younger and maybe you're a boy, you're a girl, but you're friends with like the opposite sex, and you're like, but you're just, yeah, it's like, this is my friend, and and you always hang out with each other, always talking to each other, and you don't even realize that because you're so young and your minds are still forming, your bodies are changing, that you're actually like, oh, you kind of want to be even more, but you don't even realize that, but it's actually happening, before you. Like those initial scenes in the movie, I think they capture that very, very well. That kind of sweet budding romance where it's like, I'm awkward, I don't know what to say, and goodbye, and then I'm gonna run away. That's what they kind of do in the beginning, and I really like that. I thought that was super cute, very, very adorable, and despite their closeness, they lose contact with each other when Nora and her family emigrate again to Canada and then later to the United States several years later. But they later reunite over social media 12 years later, after they say goodbye to each other. That's the first of their meetings. How the filmmakers handle them, like reconnecting on social media, I thought was very good in the movie. They covered the initial curiosity of them seeking each other out, the awkwardness of the first few conversations, which, I think we all kind of have when we're finally talking to someone we haven't seen in years. But they begin to bond again and share so much of their lives just online over the internet, with each other. Many of us have experienced an online relationship like that, where we're just constantly texting, sharing videos. I mean, sexting, back and forth. We start to get very comfortable. But when you want to meet up with each other, because inevitably you're like, God, I just want to meet up with you. I just want to have sex with you, or I just want to have physical contact with you. Your schedule and your ordinary everyday lives just prevent that from happening. And the honeymoon of rediscovering each other kind of ends there. It's a tale as old as the digital age itself. And I was like, I really identified with that aspect, of the movie, which takes place after, obviously, their childhood goodbyes. After another decade and some changes for both of them, where they're more economically comfortable to travel and comfortable in their respective lives, they do meet each other again in person. And, but so much is different. Like with Nora marrying an American man, and Hae Sung still single after a failed relationship. I was worried that the film was then going to turn into the stereotypical romantic Lifetime movie where the girl leaves her husband, who's a jerk anyway, to be with the man she always loved for 20 years. But they don't do that at all. Matter of fact, They do something that I thought was like very mature and again grounded, in tinged with sadness. I think between all the characters, including Nora's husband, Arthur, who in this, like, he's not an evil or an obnoxious person, but he's actually like a really good man. He's just like, I'm kind of caught in the middle of this kind of weird, awkward situation, and jokes about it, but is also frustrated by it. And Nora understands. And he even says, like, I've never experienced something like this before. And that is what makes the movie wholesome, because there's a lot of honesty being exchanged between all the characters. And I really like that. And again, the scenes just with Arthur, her American husband, and Nora before she's finally reunited physically with Hae Sung, which I think was done on purpose. I think it was very smart. Like, we're going to start the movie just in the very beginning when they're childhood friends and like they're physically with each other, and then we're not going to do that until like the third act where they finally like physically reunite. I thought that was very important, because you kind of want that, because they have this desire to finally see each other despite the multitude of complications in their lives, which, we have a multitude of complications in our lives as well. But the thing is, like, between Nora and Arthur, they show all the love and struggles in their marriage, and they too have chemistry with each other. They are fun to watch. It's almost like and now another romantic movie starting. Now we're going to do the spinoff of Past Lives. It's now Nora and Arthur's time, and I really like that. I see in the chat, Chris was worried they were going to make the white guy the bad guy. They actually call that out. Like, Arthur says, am I just going to... They're very aware. They're very aware people are going to think like, oh, here you go. It's going to be like that Lifetime movie where you have the couple that reunites and you have the evil white boyfriend or evil, just boyfriend in general. And they don't do that. They call it out. They say it. And my fear was, oh, now that you said it, now you're just going to indulge in it. And they do they don't do that. I don't want to say exactly what happens, but I like that. That felt like, this felt like a very mature take on a complicated romantic relationship between people that have known each other for many years, in some cases 24 years. And how do you rectify that? How do you deal with that? It's not like a movie. It's not like a movie where it's like, well, yeah, we're going to be together. That's just how it is. It's like, no, it's oftentimes that's not how it's going to, turn out. It's a film about these really powerful connections that feel almost as if you've met each other before in another life and are destined to meet again in another life. It just feels that way. It's like you can't, it's not even physical. There's something else to it. It's ethereal in nature. A variety of circumstances may have prevented you from indulging in that relationship in the way in which you wanted to. But the movie is not suggesting that either character wasted their time. Those 24 years of it, but that love doesn't always go away for some people. And it ebbs and it flows, and it's nice to appreciate it when you can, but to not be mournful about it. You're going to feel the way you're going to feel, but you've lived a life, you've had all these experiences, but you might have this tether, you might have this connection that you realize oh God, that did mean a lot to me. That does mean a lot to me. And you can indulge in it, but the circumstances have just made it difficult to do it on a regular basis. Again, I keep using this word, but it's a very mature film about love and how it affects people over many years. It's not schmaltzy. I hope nothing I said makes it sound like schmaltzy or corny in any capacity. I think it just succeeds in the depiction of a loving relationship that ebbs and flows over the course of 2 decades, and how the circumstances of these two people's lives just made indulging a relationship difficult. It's what, and I think so many of us have experienced in our own lives. I certainly have. And I really like that. And it doesn't make, I think, the mistake of what a lot of lesser romantic films do, which is like, well, they're going to get together, they're going to live, and they're going to make babies, and their babies are going to make babies, and it all figured itself out. It's like, it's more complicated than that. And I thought that was very nice. I don't want to say too much about the movie. I recommend. It's hard to find online. I think probably the easiest way is perhaps rent it. But hey, if you're in the mood for a romantic film that it's not a Lifetime movie, that is not schmaltzy, that it portrays, these really earnestly good people that just struggle to maintain a relationship due to a variety of issues in their own lives, I'd recommend it, Chad. It's a really nice, feel-good movie. I can understand why it's getting a lot of love. Certainly, in the indie space, right now. It's when it comes to its visuals, it's not like soft camera focus and this beautiful color palette. And, we were initially in South Korea. We're in the suburbs of South Korea, right? And then we go to Toronto at one point, and then eventually New York City. It's a very standard depiction of these places and these environments, and doesn't put a gloss on it or anything like that. And I really liked it, which also I think helped it, grounded it even more. So yeah, I think it's a very good movie. I don't know if it's gonna be on my top 10 list, but sort of honorable mentions. These performances I think were quite great from the entire cast. In terms of the 3 people that you're going to be focusing on the most, Greta Lee, who plays Nora Moon, great job. Teo Yu, who plays Hae Sung, also great. And John Magaro, who plays Arthur, I think gives a really good supporting performance, chat. So with those 3 leads, really loved how just earnest and honest this movie was. And I recommend it. But what about you guys? Have you guys seen Past Lives? You interested in it? Did you not like it? Did you think it was, not a great depiction of a romantic relationship, or kind of an alternative romantic relationship? Or have you never even heard of this movie? Let me know.